fellow South Africans. We are at our most essential, a nation defined by hope and resilience. Even in these trying times, it is hope that should sustain us and fuel our determination to overcome even the greatest of difficulties. Our most immediate priority is to restore energy security. We are therefore declaring a national state of disaster to respond to the electricity crisis and its effects. It will enable us to provide practical measures that we need to take to support businesses where technically possible. It will also enable us to exempt critical infrastructure such as hospitals and water treatment plants from load shedding. And it will enable us to accelerate energy projects and limit regulatory requirements while maintaining rigorous environmental procurement principles and technical standards. Now, to deal more effectively and urgently with the challenges that confront us, I will appoint a Minister of Electricity in the Presidency to assume full responsibility for overseeing all aspects of the electricity crisis response, including the work of the National Energy Crisis Committee. Our infrastructure build program is gaining pace through the work of the Infrastructure Fund and Infrastructure South Africa. By January this year, projects that are worth 232 billion rand were under construction, and projects worth nearly 4 billion rand have been completed. During the course of this year, we will migrate the remaining households to digital television signal and complete the switch off of analog transmission. Last year, the 4th South African Investment Conference raised 367 billion in investment commitments, bringing our 5-year investment target firmly within sight. Over the last year, many of these commitments have resulted in the companies that made these commitments investing in new factories, call centers, solar power plants, undersea fiber optic cables, the expansion of production lines, the adoption of new technologies. Importantly, these investments have resulted in new jobs and new opportunities for small emerging businesses as well. On the 3rd of April this year, we will hold our 5th South African Investment Conference. At this conference, we will set a new target, having achieved our 1.2 trillion rand, to mobilize more than 2 trillion in new investment by 2028. This year, we will finalize amendments to the Businesses Act to reduce regulatory impediments for SMMEs and cooperatives and make it easier for entrepreneurs to start businesses. We plan to provide 1.4 billion in financing for over 90,000 entrepreneurs. Government, in partnership with the SA SME Fund, is working to establish a fairly substantial fund, which could get up to 10 billion rand, to support SMME growth. Government, through the Ministry of Finance, is looking at the possibility of providing a portion of that funding. Business should also be able to provide some 7.5 billion that will be raised from the private sector. The Social Employment Fund is recruiting 50,000 participants in its next phase to undertake work for the common good, and the revitalized National Youth Service will also create a further 36,000 opportunities through non-profit and community-based organizations. Now, the Department of Home Affairs has appointed the first cohort of 10,000 unemployed young people to digitize more than 340 million paper-based civic records. Around 60% of our budget is spent on what is known as the social wage, providing various forms of support, basic services and assistance to households and individuals to combat poverty and hunger. We will continue with the Social Relief of Distress Grant, which the Minister of Finance will talk to when he presents his budget, which currently reaches 7.8 million people. We will ensure that existing social grants are provided and are even increased to cushion the poor against rising inflation. This year, we will take steps to unlock massive value for poor households by expediting the provision of title deeds for subsidized housing. The current backlog in processing title deeds is over 1 million houses, which amounts to an estimated 242 billion rand in assets that should be in the hands of South Africa's poorest households. We are strengthening the South African Police Service to ensure that perpetrators are brought to justice. This includes putting more police on the streets and setting up specialized units that will focus on specific types of crime. The specialized police teams that are working on tackling crime like kidnapping, extortion, illegal mining have had several breakthroughs, arresting dozens of suspects and achieving several convictions. Our reinvigorated law enforcement agencies are taking firm action against companies and individuals alleged to have been involved in state capture. The NPA, in the investigating directorate, which I established in 2019, has taken 187 accused persons to court in 32 state capture corruption cases. Over 7 billion rand has so far been returned to the state from state capture cases. To date, 12.9 billion rand of funds and assets have been frozen. This year, the investigating directorate will be established as a permanent entity within the NPA. Now, in response to the State Capture Commission and in line with the framework for the professionalization of the public service, integrity assessments will become mandatory requirements for recruitment, and entry exams will also be introduced. We are amending legislation and strengthening the role of the Public Service Commission to ensure that qualified people are appointed to senior management positions and to move towards creating a single harmonized public service. We will continue to get involved in the peace efforts that we need to get involved in. We will continue to expand trade and investment opportunities with our global trade partners and will look to attract investment and financing to South Africa through our participation in multilateral forums such as the G20, which we will host in 2025. This year, South Africa assumes the chairship of BRICS. Our focus will be on collaboration, on sustainable development, the just energy transition and industrialization, and implementation of the African Continental Free Trade Area. We are a nation seized with the challenges of the present. Before, we are also a nation striving to fulfill the promise of our future. We need to work together, and we need to stay the course. We need, as a nation at this time more than at any other, to reveal our true character. We need to work together and leave no one behind. Despite all the challenges that we face, I would call on all of us to make the contribution that we can to serve the people of South Africa as much as we possibly can. I thank you, and I wish everyone good night.